My name's Mike Malnick, and I'm the host of the Level Up Leadership Show. Thank you so much for watching today. It's really just my heart to help you grow as a leader. I know that I'm reading books, listening to podcasts, doing everything that I can to glean as much information to help me grow as a leader. So what my heart is just really to pass along leadership principles to you that I've learned throughout my lifetime. So help me out and let me know, what are you struggling with as a leader? What topics that maybe I haven't done that you've been wondering about. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but if, you say a topic that, I might have some, experience in it, then I'll go ahead and do a show on that topic. Go ahead, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook. All right, here we go, our next episode. I'm really excited for these next two episodes of the Level Up Leadership Show. We're going to be talking about leading our kids. And we're going to have some special guests on these next two shows. For today, we have my wife, Susie. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited to be here. It's my first time on your leadership show, so It should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited because we talk about leadership and, for the most part, kind of talks about, I've been talking about leading teams and how it relates to business and your careers and your jobs. And, the last couple of weeks I've been talking more about how it relates to our family and leading a family. And these next two episodes, I want to specifically talk about leading our kids. And sometimes we think of when it comes to our kids and just, parenting them or disciplining them, which we need to do, but we lead them, right? Because under the umbrella of parenting, it comes, feeding, you need to keep them fed, right?
Yes, unfortunately, many times a day. And since school has been out, it feels like that's all I do, is feed children all day long.
We keep them safe. We discipline, which we're going to talk about today a little bit. And much, much more. So much goes into parenting. And so, but have you thought in terms of actually leading your kids? And what comes to your mind when you think about that?
Yeah, so I don't think that's something that we naturally think about. And part of it is because I feel like a lot of times as parents, we can kind of just enter into survival mode. And so you're not necessarily being as intentional as you want to be when it comes to how you're parenting or leading your kids, because you're just trying to get through the day. And especially when your kids are younger and your days are filled with diaper changes and you know how much you've always been so helpful at just doing whatever, whether it's changing a diaper or getting a kid ready for bed or cleaning a kid up after a meal. And sometimes it feels like you're just trying to get through the day. Yeah. And so that intentionality, I like the term leading because it brings more intentionality to what you're doing with your kids throughout the day.
Right. And that's really helped me because I feel sometimes like we react to our kids. My kid is doing this, therefore I'm going to react and I have to course correct them and discipline them and, kind of get this out of their, and retrain them if you will. But if we're leading them, then, maybe we set them on a different path and we kind of, set them on this trajectory before, so we don't have to we're always going to have to course correct kids. But if we could, maybe eliminate, and sometimes I feel like, I just feel like I'm reacting so much. And instead of reacting to my kids and reacting to this, that, what can I do on the front end to lead them better so they don't, make those mistakes or veer off in the beginning. And it's less about reacting and more about, like you said, being intentional. And so one of the things that we want to talk about that, I'm not sure if you've really thought about, and if you have younger kids, you have some time to really think about this one, but I want to talk about money with our kids. And this, again, this might be, like I have a 7-year-old, what They have no money. Exactly.
Right.
But if you don't want that 7-year-old living in your basement when they're 40, then it might be a good idea to teach them a little bit about money and how to handle money.
It is amazing when you start giving kids a little bit of money to work with, and because there's so many elements that go along with it. And I think we've done a pretty good job. It's something that we have tried to do and be intentional with, but just recently we were at a restaurant and kind of like a fast food place. And I was with our oldest daughter, who is 13, and she's very independent. We've, tried to put her in situations that she has room to fail, that she can kind of figure out things on her own, but we're still there for her to help her. And I decided at this particular restaurant that she would place the order and she would pay for it with cash. I was fully confident that she could do this without any problem, but I was kind of surprised and I found out I was wrong. So when she went up, she placed the order and did fine. She was polite, she was kind. But what surprised me is when it came time to pay with cash. Now, we often use our debit card. And so she actually has used my debit card before paying for things. But since she had cash this time, she kind of had it wadded up in her hand. And when it came time to pay, she took the money and she just dropped it on the counter like that. And I was so horrified that she really didn't know how to pay with cash. And so afterwards, I had to tell her, you don't give the money wadded up. You unfold the dollar bills, you take the dollar bills, you place it in the person's hand, that it's just not polite to just throw it on the counter like that.
Here you go.
But it was an area that she hadn't done before. Yeah. So after that happened, actually just yesterday, I didn't tell you this, but we picked up pizza for our 9-year-old. And there's a little local...
Wait a sec. You got pizza?
You don't have to know everything. Okay. For just my 9-year-old. It's her favorite little pizza place. You can buy it by the slice. And really small, little place. And so I felt comfortable sending her in by herself. So I told her, I'm going to pull up and this is going to be your first time. You're going to go in, you're going to order the pizza and you're going to pay for it by yourself. And so we walked through how she does that, and she did. She went in and came back out, and I said, so do you feel more grown up now? And she's kind of smiled and said, yeah, I kind of do. And so it's so good for us as parents to give them those opportunities. Now, you might live in a place that it's not safe for you to send your 5th grader into a restaurant like that. And I'm not saying in all situations that's okay, but yeah.
It's good to really begin exposing your kids to how to handle money. Like you said, simple transactions that it's just so natural for us that we don't think about it, that is unnatural to, younger kids that just haven't handled money, haven't, paid for things. And so it's really good just to, we want to set our kids up for success. And so we want to give them a safe place to, fail, if you will, but you to be there for them. And so, one of the things that, we've tried hard to do and to, implement into our kids' lives is really when it comes to money, because not just spending it and learning how to interact with a cashier or a waitress and paying for things, but also how to budget so you have the money to pay for those things.
Right.
And what that looks like and how to budget and, money coming in. Okay, we kind of set up a chore list for our kids, and they get, I hate to use the word allowance, but they get,
they get paid,
if you will, for doing these chores. And if they don't do them, they don't get paid. And so we want them to understand the value of money, that, hey, if you work hard, you get paid. But then also once they get it is what do you do with it? How do you budget it?
They love counting it.
Yes.
And they love telling each other how much they have, especially if they're the one with the most.
Yes.
They love pulling it all out and saying, I have $63. How much do you have?
Especially like after a birthday or something where one of the grandparents, gives them money and they just sit there and count it in front of the other one.
Yeah. So I think we have learned some things along the way. I definitely have. And one of the things I've really learned is that if we're going to give our kids the opportunity to manage their own money, and we talk about that sometimes too, what does it mean to be a money manager? And, the Bible tells us that we are all stewards, that it all belongs to Him. And so we talk to our kids about giving, how we give. Out of every $10, we give $1 to Jesus, and we do that by giving to the church. And we talk about saving and then spending, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about the giving and saving, but the spending part of it, one of the things that I had to correct myself on is I would kind of almost guilt them if they spent their money in a way that I didn't think was a good way to spend it. And so I've had to kind of let go of that and let go of that control and tell them, this is your money. You can do with it what you want. And sometimes, depending on the child, they might say, well, what do you think I should do? Or what do you think? And I might give them some advice, but there are some times that I just say, it's your decision to make. And it's good for them to even purchase something and feel regret later. Right. To say, I wish I wish I still had that $20 rather than that toy.
Yeah, it's a good lesson.
It's
a small, valuable lesson for them to learn that, hey, buyer's remorse. I wish I didn't spend it. I wish I'd have saved it. 2 weeks later, I bought that candy bar. I wish I'd have saved it so I could buy this new shirt, or, you know what I mean? Like, and it's good for them to learn those lessons. Don't, if you're, allowing your kids to, collect some kind of allowance or money or being paid, however it works in your house, to allow your kids to make bad decisions. It's okay. It's, $10 or whatever that amount of money is. It's not going to be the end of the world. You'd much rather them make that decision, with a candy bar and a T-shirt, than a house or a car when they're 20 years old.
And I have seen growth in our kids, especially with our 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Something happened for the first time. It's never happened before. And in the past, clothing shopping has always been a big deal. And so, clothes can be expensive. We try to buy things on sale and set limits for how much we're spending on clothing. We do hand-me-downs and thrift shopping, all of that. But there are some times that we just buy new clothes, and it can be expensive. And as a parent, it's so frustrating when you spend money on your kids for clothes and they don't wear that item. It's just the most frustrating thing. It sits in their closet or worse, on their floor. It never gets worn. But for the first time, just last week, a few weeks ago, Adeline had purchased a shirt with her own money. And a couple weeks ago, we were going back out to go shopping again. And she brought that shirt back up in the bag with a tag and said, Mom, I actually decided I don't want this.
Oh, wow.
And she had it ready to return. And I know it's because she used her own money to purchase that shirt.
Oh, yeah. If we had bought it.
If we had bought it, it would have sat at the bottom of her laundry basket or at the floor of her closet for probably until I picked it up and said, let's donate this. So it's good to see those little signs of progress, that your kids are growing and understanding the value of money and making progress.
One of the things that we start with, and you touched on this, is we want our kids to grow up to be generous people. And so we want to teach them that, we give back, we believe that God has blessed us, that we're stewarding His money. And now we want to give back, and we give back in the context of, a local church. And so out of every $10, we give at least, $1 back. And so we've kind of set it up so that we really want our kids to learn generosity, especially my oldest. And I'm always, because she has this desire to, I don't know how to make a lot of money, put it that way.
Most kids do.
Most kids do, but I want to make sure that she understands that I don't want your desire and push to be successful and to, make a lot of money while so I'm not going to give, or I'm not going to be generous because I want, and to be almost selfish. I'm saying she's not right now, but it's like as preemptive. I want to teach her, hey, this is how we helps us stay grounded. And honestly, really, the Bible teaches us that it opens up blessings beyond, what you're making just in your paycheck and whatever job that you have. And it's so important for us to get this down and really understand giving back. And so, man, I think it's really important that however you choose to allow your kids to handle money, that you teach them, hey, okay, you're going to get this amount, but this part you're going to give back in an offering.
Yeah, and there are other ways you can teach that even beyond money.
Right.
So things like when you bake a batch of cookies, you can take some of those and give them away. Take them to a neighbor, take them to a friend. And it's just kind of instilling that idea of thinking of others and then not just being all about you or keeping everything for yourself.
Right. And so that's kind of like, right off the bat. And we talk about giving and being generous with our kids a lot. We let them know, hey, we give back to our church. This is, we don't always share necessarily the amounts, but, hey, we give every single week. And sometimes they don't see it because, we have our automatic giving set up, but when anytime there's anything special and above and beyond, we let them know, hey, we support not just, tithing and giving of that 10%, but hey, on top of that, we also support missionaries. And we give to our Global Compassion, fund so that we can help support missionaries. And then there's special offerings. And any time that we give, I want our kids to know, hey, we're modeling this, because kids are going to do what they see, not what you say.
Right.
And so it's important for, your kids to know, hey, my parents not just telling me this, but they're actually seeing me do these things. And that is going to stick far more than, us just telling them you need to, but you also need to model it as well.
Yeah. The other benefit of giving your kids some opportunity to manage money is it really begins to teach them the value of $1.
Right.
And that sounds like a phrase that your grandparents would be saying, you need to know the value of $1. But I've seen that in our kids when they're shopping and making decisions of what to purchase. We talk about how much something costs and do we think it's worth that? And sometimes it backfires for me. Last summer, we went to a farmer's market and we often shop at Aldi, which if you are familiar with Aldi, it's a discount grocery store. So produce especially is much cheaper there than you'll find it at other places. And the kids often go grocery shopping with me and I'll comment, oh, this is a really good price for strawberries. And so we went to a farmer's market, which I knew was going to be more expensive than the produce section at Aldi. However, my kids did not. And I was kind of embarrassed when my oldest daughter started saying, $4 for those tomatoes. We're not going to pay that. And made several comments about that with the produce. But she's starting to learn what $1 is worth and what it can buy you. And also, I can kind of judge how much she wants something when she is asked to spend her own money on it.
Yes.
So it's very easy for your kids to ask you to buy something because you seem to have an unlimited supply of finances. But when you tell them, well, you can spend your own money and then they no longer want it, it really is a good measure to see how much do they really want that item. Yeah.
The next part is the saving part. We want to, and I think as Americans as a whole that we do a terrible job with this.
That's true. So it should go give, save, spend. That's the order. We've kind of been talking about it a little out of order.
Yeah.
But when you're prioritizing with your kids, that's really the order that you want to talk to them about is give, save, spend. And when it comes to saving, it's really helpful if they have a goal or something they're saving towards.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just feels like, why is it there? Why am I hanging on to all of this instead of spending it all at Target?
Right.
So what are some appropriate save goals do you think that kids can have?
I think like long-term bigger items, and I think it for every child is different. I'm sure it's it's hard if they're 7, they're not, and you say your kids aren't going to have a phone until they're 12. Well, 5 years to save for a 7-year-old, it's not going to fly. But and so it just really depends on how much you're allowing them to steward, how much you're giving them, and so but maybe like a bigger toy that they just have to have. And and it can vary. Electronics are big, even in younger kids. That headphones that they want, the electronic that you want to buy them is $20, and the one they want is $40. Well, and allow them to have that saving. Hey, I've almost got it, and then that joy of I've saved it, and now I can purchase it. And then when they get older, when they start getting into their teens, at some point, every teenager is going to want to drive at some point. And so it'd be good for them to start putting money away in a savings account, to start saving up for a vehicle and that first car. And so those are some, obviously that's a lot bigger purchase, but, especially when they're younger, you kind of want that pay off a little bit sooner. But kind of when they get into that 13, 14 range, hey, okay, it might be time to start, saving for a car and so then we've kind of we give, we save, and you can do this and spend in different ways. Like we've done it a number of different ways. We've given them envelopes with Give, Save, Spend. We've done jars with Give, Save, Spend. Ask Susie, she's found it on Pinterest, and there's lots of different ways so that they can visually see, hey, this jar, this envelope, this box, whatever it is, this is what I'm giving away. And then the saving, this is what's going to savings, not going to touch it. And then this part, I can spend, and I can, buy those things that drive us as parents crazy sometimes. But you know what? It is what it is. So kind of, we want kids to understand what it is as far as handling money. But when they're an adult, the best way they're going to receive that money is through a job. Right? And so how do we set our kids up, apart from school, to be successful in their careers?
Well, part of what we're doing, even when it comes to money, is we're teaching them that when you work, you get paid. And that's why we do attach allowance with chores. There are some things our kids are expected to do that are not tied to a financial payout just because they're part of our family. We're not in a situation that we're paying them to tidy up the living room or those kinds of things. But we want them to know from a young age, the way you get money is by working. And so that's the very first way we're instilling that in them. And the second way is really by modeling our own work ethic for our children and showing them what it is to choose a career that is not necessarily, you're not choosing a career just based on the financial payout, but you're choosing a career based on what you feel like God has asked you to do with your life. So we talk about that a lot with our kids. And we really try to model for them what it looks like to have a good work ethic and how to work hard and also know how to rest.
And I think a big part is that we enjoy what we do. And I think when kids are choosing careers, especially when they're younger, there's the firefighter, doctor, policeman, astronaut, you know what I mean?
Or singer,
right? YouTuber. And then kind of as they get older, they start, switching around, and then, and we really want to instill in our kids that think about how much time you're going to spend every day, at least 5 days, maybe 6 days a week at this job, in this career. You're going to want to do something that you enjoy. Okay. Now, are you going to enjoy every aspect of it? Probably not. There's always going to be, there's no perfect job where you just love to do every single thing that there is to do in your day. But something that the overall, the overarching, I love my job. I love doing this. I don't mind going in, on Monday mornings. It's something that I like to do, and really helping. And that's what I want my kids to know. Hey, I enjoy my job. Are there times that you're frustrated? Sure. But I love what I do. And I want them, because who wants to work at a job where every Monday or every day you're just like, oh, I have to go to work. I hate this. My job, and just, that's no fun. And so I really want my kids to enjoy something that they do, and then find something you enjoy and figure out a way to get paid for it. And that might be, there's new careers and jobs coming up as our world and culture is changing. Seems like weekly. But I want my kids to enjoy their life. And I think part of enjoying your life is enjoying the career that you choose.
Yeah, and part of that as parents is allowing your kids to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And allowing them to try things and figure out they don't like it. And that's okay. And one recent story is, again, our oldest daughter. I have more stories about her because she has a little more independence and ability to spend her money. But she decided that she wanted to start her own business, making a product. And so we encouraged her, we supported her, we took her to the store and allowed her, I think she had $200 saved up to invest into some materials. And so we were with her along the way. And then once she got all this, within a couple of weeks, it just kind of fizzled out, and she decided she didn't want to do it anymore. And then as a parent, I now have the responsibility and the opportunity to either make her feel shame or to make her feel that, okay, that was something you tried and it didn't work out, and that's okay. And those are kind of those opportunities. She already feels the pain of spending $200 of her own money. I don't need to point that out. I don't need to hold that over her head. I don't need to try to make her feel regret. I'm sure she already feels that on her own of how she chose to spend that money, but I'm going to continue to support her. And even when we're talking with our kids about, we'll talk about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we support their ideas, whether it's a teacher or a doctor or whatever it might be. And for those of you that have kids, I'm sure that you see those things change, but we put the emphasis not on, oh, that's a great career because you can make a lot of money.
Right.
We put the emphasis on, if that's what God has for you, then you're going to love it. Yeah. And we try to support the calling that God has for each of our children as individuals.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap this up, and I know I said we were going to talk about discipline. We're going to, tag that onto our next episode, and we're going to continue this conversation as it relates to how do we lead our kids. Stay tuned for next week. Thanks for watching that episode. I want to remind you, go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook. I also want to let you know that we have a Level Up Leadership Show private Facebook group. So if you go ahead and go into Facebook and just search Level Up Leadership Show, you'll find the group there, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. Why don't you go ahead, let me know, what really did you learn from this past episode? What are things that you like or didn't like? And then also, if there's some topic that you'd love to see a show on, go ahead and let me know. All right, have a great week.